This is Believe It Buckeyes. I'm Bryant, All-American quarterback Chimdi Chekwa. This show is brought to you guys by FanDuel. Chim, the guys are off of spring break. They came back, no cruises. They kept working out, I guess. But the guys, they came back, they put their pads on, and they ready to go. They got the state of Ohio shaking and trembling due to the intensity. But what's going on with you, Chim, man? How you doing? How you living?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. It's interesting how you get a couple practice in Ohio State and other schools have done. You get a couple practice in, and then you go on spring break. You get to leave for a little bit, and it's just risky to go out there and just go on a vacation nowadays, man. A lot of competition out there. You don't want to come back, not ready to go out there and play. So a lot of guys getting their training there. You see the training videos being posted all over socials and whatnot. It's good to see. It's good to see guys getting that work in on spring break and then coming back and getting that work in on the field for spring ball. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I got to get right to it. I mean, obviously, we had about, 2 or 3 practice. We talk about teaching 51 players how to practice as a Buckeye, and we already got some black stripes being removed. And Earl Little Jr. and Kyle Parker, both transfer guys, veteran guys, but new to the program and already kind of getting it done to consider a full-on, I don't know what brotherhood thing. I don't know. I got a whole thing on the black stripes, man. But we got some guys that show some experience at least.
Yeah, for sure. And Earl Little Jr. coming from Florida State, guy. When you look on film, I mean, he's out there flying around. And after losing a guy like Caleb Downs, losing some safeties and some defensive backs to transfer portal as well, bringing that guy in, a veteran guy, a guy who has NFL ability. It's big, and it's good to see that he's got his black, whatever that means, he's got his black stripe removed early, because he's likely going to be somebody that has to lead the defense. And then Kyle Parker came over from LSU, which is the same place that the wide receiver coach came over from as well. Has some real talent, so I'm hyped to see him get out there and make some plays. But what's your take on the black stripe? I'm curious how you feel about that.
Man, first thing you got to shout out CJ Barnett, man. CJ got to do like the hype up video before they do it.
I like it, man. We got a black stripe alert.
He's going to be exhausted, man. Exhausted. He got 51 guys to welcome to the program, man. So, yeah, he better keep up with the green tea in the morning, and get the honey in and everything, because his voice going to be stressed in, man. But, I don't know, man. Like, honestly, it's something we started doing, I believe, under Coach Meyer. And, I mean, what does it really mean? Like, we got Earl Little in the transfer portal. Yeah, like, we plan on paying this guy. Like, he's in the brotherhood right away once he signed his letter of intent. You got black stripe guys. Guys still haven't got their stripe removed, but they playing in the games once the season hit. Little stuff like that you do to the true freshmen. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's fun. It's something that the team has really wrapped around, and they make a celebration out of it, and that's all good from the camaraderie of, hey, you're officially here now. But I don't know, with certain guys, it's like, bro, you here already. We know what time it is. It's time to go. Right. Do Chris Henry Jr. need his black stripe removed, or he's gonna play on? Let's not play around with these type of games.
He hasn't gotten it removed yet, has he?
Yeah.
Has he? All right.
Yet. 3 practices in, 3 in. Yeah,
right. I don't know. I like to see CJ getting hype. I also like for some of the young guys. I think from the outside looking in, you don't know from a young player, from a new player, who's a little bit ahead of schedule, who's getting everything done. So I do like to see it from the young players personally. I think what's interesting is the transfer guy. The 5th-year senior comes in, the 6th-year senior comes in, and he gets his black stripe removed. Man, my guy had his black stripe removed in year 3. You know what I'm saying?
When he caught a pick against UNC, that was.
But it's tradition. It's something that they do. So you look forward to seeing who else gets that stripe removed. I hope that all of the veteran guys that come in the transfer portal that we expect to contribute aren't carrying that black stripe into the season. We want to get rid of that black stripe, burn it. You know what I'm saying? Let those guys free themselves and go out there and play good, productive football and be leaders. In some of these positions, we need some, some guys to step up to a leadership role.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to see those guys. Those are two guys that we expect to be contributors to be able to show that, they are officially Buckeyes. They're officially in position to
In the
be real
brotherhood.
contributors. Yeah.
No, right. And yeah, so I mean, and with that, we got another new guy, right, on the coaching staff, and that's Cortez Hankton coming in to coach wide receivers out of LSU. And it's funny, we spent some time on this, like, who was going to replace Bryant Hartline, right? And you start trying to look like, okay, this guy's going to have to be able to do these things, right? He's going to have to have some experience at, real experience at getting guys into the NFL, maybe be an NFL head coach. I mean, position coach, have some experience of that. He has to know the position, maybe plays position, be able to kind of really recruit. Got to get the 4 or 5 stars at the wide receivers at Ohio State,
Yeah.
because that's what's the job is expected due to the job that Hartline did in leaving. And I think we had a good job in hiring Coach Hankton and coming in and that. And he had did an interview and he kind of started talking about the Buckeye brotherhood and the culture that Coach Dace and the Tissy and he kind of had some words about his first couple of days coaching officially here as Ohio State. What did you think of his words? It's
Yeah.
obviously, I don't know. I think you feel like he got to, he's the right guy for the job, but is he saying the right things? Because we know how Buckeye Nation is.
Yeah.
You get a drop pass, Jeremiah Smith drop a pass, man. Someone's gonna be calling for that guy's job, man. But you know how it
Yeah.
is.
And I do remember, if I recall, when he got offered the job, or at least when he was interviewing, you start checking around social media. And I don't know how much social media is real life, right? But there was a lot of fans on the LSU side that, were unhappy with him, which was baffling to me. And there was a lot of fans at Ohio State side, based on how other fans were, you know, talking about him as a coach, that were unsure about, whether he's the actual guy to go get. And I think a lot of that stemmed probably mostly from recruiting. Like, if as a position coach, the easiest way to make a fan base upset is to miss on recruits that they believe are the guys, right? But I mean, the reality is recruiting is a big chunk of it is the position coach. Another big chunk of it is the benefits package that you get. And another big chunk of it is the university, right? And you could send the best position coach out there and he may do a great job recruiting guys, but he may not have enough behind him to make it happen. I think when you come to Ohio State, you have especially at the receiver position, and on offense in general, you have a lot behind you to get a lot of those recruits. I think from a development standpoint, I think his track record is clear. He's developed some really good receivers who have performed in the NFL. Look at LSU receivers in the NFL, even just recently, right? And you can see that those guys are some high level talents. Um, from what he said in the press conference, I think some good words about Ohio State. I don't know that I expect a coach to come into Ohio State and not have good words about Ohio State. So I don't read too much into it. I think
Yeah.
what I do read a little bit into it is who's impressed, right? What wide receivers have impressed him so far. I know it's still early in spring, but I think my one of my biggest questions coming into this spring is who ends up being wide receiver number 2.
Mm, mm.
And if we look back, wide receiver number 2, not this past year, but the season before, Emeka Egbuka was really our wide receiver 1, right? He's
Right.
a guy who tore it up in the league, first round pick. Wide receiver number 2 this past year is Carnell Tate, who's really a wide receiver number 1.
Mm.
All right, and you go back, you have Marvin Harrison, you have Emeka, and so this year, do we have that same level of talent? And I'm not the same level of talent, but even that same category, that same tier of
Yeah.
talent at the wide receiver number 2 position. And I'm curious what you think about that, and who is the guy that steps into that position?
Yeah, right. So I mean, it's competition there. I think that's the lightest way to say it, right? Coach Hankton has already started giving shout outs to Brock Boyd, right? The true freshman wide receiver out of coming in from the state of Texas, and him being impressive as a young guy.
Oh,
Obviously, he got it.
I gotta interrupt you about Brock Boyd,
Okay.
man. You know who Brock Boyd reminds me of?
Who was that?
Bryant Hartline. And it's not because it's not because of his skin color, all right? It reminds me of Brian Hartline. There's just some similarities in how they come in and out of the breaks. You know, that back is kind of rounded, drop the hips quick and coming out of the break. So anyway, it's interesting to me that Hartline went out to Texas, offered him the scholarship because he gives me a little bit of shades of Hartline back when he was in college. But go ahead. Who's the other guy?
Yeah, man. But no, obviously Hotline was a great talent. Remember, he could run all day, and he
Yeah.
used to play that way as well. But you obviously he got the relationship with Kyle Park, right? He basically brings him over from LSU. He got his black stripe removed, and obviously someone he's been growing with, recruited him. So obviously he kind of it's a lot there, right?
Yeah.
Because then you got also there's a lot there when you talk about the talent of Chris Henry Jr. and him coming to Ohio State, and him being that 5-star recruit for the past 3 seasons, and him coming in with his stature of being they got 6'5", 6'6", could actually move, get down the field, a physical guy, strong, got it built already to itself, what he's going to bring to the table. And then you got to talk about the returning captain and the guy who was a starting wide receiver number 3 last year for Ohio State, and Brandon Ennis, and him making a jump and making a leap. And obviously he's been in the program the longest. Obviously you're voted captain not by mistake. You did something, right? You did, and Hankton kind of starts talking about his personality and what he brings to the locker room and what he brings to the meeting room and how he just kind of keep guys engaged and pushing on and pressing on to kind of continue to improve. And then you also got Devin McCoon, right? You got a transfer coming in for there. I know he's supposed to be more of maybe a speed guy, a burner type of guy, but he got experience. He's hungry. He came to Ohio State for a reason, not to kind of be forgotten, but to actually get out on the field and make a name for himself. So, it's a tall task, right? And obviously, wide receiver is number 1 is Jeremiah Smith. And we know he's going to suck some, he's going to get some coverage. It's going to be double, triple in certain situations. Other guys are going to have to step up. We always kind of talk about this, not enough footballs to go around with all our guys, but someone's going to have to prove that they are wide receiver number 2, and they could go out and be consistent and consistently make plays. And, you become a household name here at Ohio State if you could do it at wide receiver. And tall task with a lot of competition to get it done.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Jeremiah Smith talked a little bit about Brandon Ennis and this being his year to take another jump. And there's been some reports about Ennis, staying and training at Ohio State, not going on the Buckeye cruise and wanting to continue to do some work. I'm interested to see, what that next step for him looks like. One, in terms of targets, right?
Yeah.
Because, you can only be as effective as the amount of plays and passes that come your way. But also, what does he add to his game? But I'm also interested to see what that rotation looks like because last year you had true 1 and 2, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and there wasn't a lot more. I would really say Max Clare was probably number 3.
Yeah.
And then that was it. There wasn't a ton more passes to go around to other players. And it feels like, and I don't know, maybe this is just my personal feeling, right? It just feels like there's going to be a little bit more rotation at receiver. And when I say rotation, Jeremiah Smith stays on the field and other guys rotate, right? But I could be wrong. I don't know that for sure. But, I think it may be wide receiver 2 by committee in this case, to really be able to spread the ball around. How much should Legend Bay get passes out of the backfield or at a slot receiver as well? So yeah, I think the number 2 receiver is to be determined. I do think Kyle losing his black stripe is indication that he's in the mix to probably be one of those guys. And I'm super interested to see what Brandon Ennis ends up being in this season.
Yeah, no, it's just fascinating, right? Because I would think every season is different, right? And like last year, we got really used to Julian saying throwing the ball to Jeremiah Smith, throwing the ball to Carnell Tate, right? And then in certain situations, they try to double them both, and he still would figure out a way to try to get those guys the ball. And a lot of times it worked out because those guys was just that special and that talented. But overall, what you're explaining, though, multiple guys doing multiple things and multiple different positions, it would make us a better offense. If you're a defense and you do not know the tendencies, what we're planning on going with the ball, other than Jeremiah Smith, you gotta make adjustments to that, right? You just can't hone in on guys and just say we're gonna bracket these two guys and let someone else beat us because we're gonna beat you. And I know
Yeah.
Coach Hankton had made a point of emphasis. Like, obviously our wide receivers are great, but what I want to see more of is us taking some of those short gains and taking them the distance, taking some of those short gains and making them big gains when I run after the catch. He's already stated that's his point of emphasis, that what he wanted to see the guys bring to the table. So if he starts thinking it like that, like, you're almost unguardable, right? We got a good
Yeah.
offensive line of veterans. We got running backs that can do this. We got a quarterback that can do this. And then we got wide receivers, and we got one wide receiver, and you never know who's going to be A2. It's going to determine per game. And it kind of reminds me a lot of the team that won the national championship last year, Indiana. You never knew which wide receiver was going to carve you up, but you knew someone was going to carve you up. And just had multiple guys that could do it. So we're in a situation here that obviously we're always in that situation, but we got to call it. We got to play it. We got to give these guys opportunities to make those plays. And maybe this is more of a season where we actually do that, just because there's the sheer number of guys that deserve an opportunity to receive the football.
Yeah, you see what they added to the mix. A guy like Devin McCoon, a guy who's a speedster, give him some opportunities for catch and run. Legend Bay, a young guy who, you know, Coach Day keeps comparing him to Curtis Samuel, guys like that. So those are individuals who get the ball and do different things in multiple ways, like a Malachi Tony did for University of Miami. So yeah, I'm interested to see more of the Johnny Dixon and Paris and the offense when Urban Meyer would throw a shallow crosser and those guys would just run it for a touchdown. Right, simple offense, but it puts real stress on the defense. Because if you're worried about a bunch of those, you still got Jeremiah Smith, who could take you up top and do a lot of things as well. So I'm interested to see how that offense evolves a little bit or shifts a little bit under Arthur Smith, and how they utilize more receivers. And then the other thing is, this is it for Jeremiah Smith, right?
Is it?
Like,
That's it. Right.
He's gone after this, so there's somebody that has to step into his role, step into his shoes next year. And long gone are the days where we had Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison, Omega Booker, all on the same roster. And you knew everybody was staying and nobody was transferring, and you knew the next guy was just going to walk into that position. Honestly, you don't really know what's going to happen next year. So.
Yeah, right. The money is different now, right, Joe? So yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, Joe, I mean, we talked about this last episode, but we actually had it. Pro Day took place at Ohio State. We got to see a lot of our guys, probably, to be honest, really our last time seeing them perform, well, it's not the shoe, but at the Woody Hayes Center and doing things of that nature. There was a lot of talk around Junior saying going out and throwing, but to me, what made me happy in the press was Tavis St. Clair going out there and him actually going out there and throwing some balls and see him connect with some of those passes. Obviously, if you're looking at Julian saying you're looking at St. Clair, St. Clair's the better athlete. He's taller. He's he's lengthier. He just kind of got more size to him. So that's now he was a top recruit as well. What's your thoughts about him going out there and performing? And it's a stressful situation. It has to be. All those coaches and GMs and NFL guys there, but him actually going out there and actually handling the pressure and looking, it seems like okay for being a young guy in that sort of situation.
Yeah, it's much needed. I mean, you have to take that second quarterback and develop them to be a starter. One, because you need that guy to step in if something happens to the starter. And you want to get future quarterbacks to keep coming to Ohio State. You got to develop everybody, right? A guy like Lincoln Keenholz was a backup and didn't really get an opportunity to start, but now he's going to get an opportunity at Louisville. And it's been all great reviews so far early on in spring practice about just, Coach Brown talking about having an athletic quarterback, a guy, a type of athleticism he's never had before. And everything about, what he's doing in the passing standpoint, learning the offense, all that stuff has been positive. So, I see these opportunities like Pro Day for a young guy to go out there and do his thing, start building his resume early. Coaches are coming to see the main guys, but they're not going to lose an opportunity to see the guys coming up as well. And at some point, he's going to be in that same position, and it won't be new to him. He's done it before. So it was good to see him out there, be able to go out there and perform as well.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. This caught my eye. This is weird off topic, Chim. But at the University of Texas, right? Texas is a big school, right? They're contenders to be in the playoffs and national championship hopes every year, just like Ohio State. At their pro day, they had no wide receivers working out. They had to have a safety go out and run routes for one of their backup quarterbacks who was leaving the school to enter in the draft because they had no wide receivers to do. I like at Texas, like this is how could this be? It's weird.
So they didn't have any underclassmen wide receivers that wanted to line up and run routes for NFL scouts?
Nope. One safety, one quarterback. Yeah, man, it wouldn't happen here. But we got to get into this though. So, Arville Reese, a lot of guys did drills, and a lot of guys did drills, and I feel like Arville Reese did more of a drill. I mean, I don't know, Sunny Styles out there, I don't know. Malone did some D-line drills as well, and the Twitter got to tweeting as Twitter does, and they start trying to judge our guy Arville Reese, saying like, "Oh, did you see Bang go around the bags? He was 6 inches. His head was 6 inches off the ground when he was bending around those bags. It looked like Arville Reese is practically standing up. Does he not have the hips? Does he not have the ability to bend? Ben Twitter said maybe Arville Reese is a little bit overrated. I'm gonna throw in the air just like that. Jim, thoughts?
So this is the thing about the time between when football playing ends and the actual draft. And in that time, we start analyzing just based on the smallest pieces of information, but we start analyzing the most minute details of every single play. Every single player. And I won't say that it's just crazy, because I do think there's some aspect of GMs and scouts who do the same thing, right? Because there's just so many players. There's so many factors. There's so many things to consider, and they're all humans. And, they're trying to weigh this guy's 4.2 40 versus this guy's route running ability. And this guy's arm length versus this guy's shin angles, right? And they're not really comparable things. And what made me annoyed on Twitter about the Arville Reese still shot comparison of him versus Bain, and Bain's a great ability to bend, and Arville Reese limited ability to bend, isn't necessarily the fans' takes, right? Because, as a fan, you only can react to what you can consume, right? That's what they see, But it's the former football player takes that really bother me. It's because while I can be amazed or look at Ruben Bain be able to bend at his size and get around that bag with that ability and be like, wow, that shows he has some real talent, I can also understand that what he is great at may not be what another edge rusher is great at, right? Yeah. Because they're not the same build, they're not the same body type, and they're not the same speed. Ruben Bain didn't even run a 40. He didn't run a 40 at all. At least I didn't see any 40 time from him. Nice. And Arville Reese, at his size and strength, a guy who was just knocking out running backs, a guy who was running through offensive tackles, ran a 4.4 40. So clearly these are not the two of the same player. So people got to understand, you got to look at the whole body of work. I saw the same guy who couldn't get around the bag, to Twitter's critique, go around an offensive tackle, knock his hand down, and go sack the quarterback multiple times, right? So, it gets silly, but I will say there's some silliness that happens from like these scouts and these GMs. I know they're in the highest positions, but they respond similarly to fans at times. That's why when something goes viral like that, it annoys me, because there's a scout out there who didn't believe in Arville Reese, and now he has some ammo to be like, see, I told y'all that this guy actually can't bend. It's like, bro, go actually watch the games and see that this is a guy who never played the position, really. Only started at linebacker for 1 year. let alone being an edge rusher. He hasn't been an edge rusher. He hasn't focused on it. He hasn't done that bag drill multiple times. So his ceiling is super high, and somebody's gonna draft him in the top 5. And what they're gonna get is a guy who can play off-ball linebacker at an elite level, and also has the upside to go be an edge rusher.
Yeah,
which is super high value in the top 5.
Yeah,
So.
no. Yeah. It's always funny to me because, like you said, I think the best point that you actually said there, Tim, is like, yeah, this guy might be a great bender, but doesn't mean this guy's not a great guy just getting off the ball. If a guy bends and wins, or a guy runs around the edge and wins, guess what? They both won.
They both win. They both win.
They both won. And that's at the end of the day, that what matters the most, that you're drafting a winner, man. But I don't know. But shout out to FanDuel. Now we got the Final Four coming up this week. The Big Ten is still doing it. 50% of the field is the Big Ten teams, and we're just gonna say, go fight an alumni. You know, if you know what I mean there. But yeah, go to FanDuel, place your bets. Should be a good one. Should be exciting. We got some good teams there to kind of finish out. Big Ten running football. They're running basketball. Yeah, I think the Big Ten. We won women's hockey. I think with Wisconsin. You know, we got that too. Yeah, so you know, just Big Ten everywhere, man. Big Ten runs the nation, man. So shout out to there. And obviously, as we continue to go into spring, continue to log in to us, check in with us, ask us questions. If you want to get more information about how Chim looks at pro day drills and determine if the guy's an athlete or not, if he is a football player or not, we could do a whole show on that, right, Chim?
We could.
Well, I know you could, that's for sure. But follow us, YouTube, Twitter, Apple. Tune in to FanDuel Network to catch the shows there on TV multiple times a week as we continue to bring it. And as always, Chim, we're going to end this with a nice OH.
Yo.
Go Bucks. Talk to you guys soon.
Go Bucks.